What's up, everybody? This is Miles Turner, the Indiana Pacers. You're listening to the Paceroos Podcast. Be sure to follow @Paceroos on Twitter.
Welcome, everyone, again to the Paceroos Podcast, the only Aussie podcast with a bias towards the Indiana Pacers. My name's Adam. I'm your host. I'm joined once again by the men that joined me for an NBL game just today, Alex and Justin. Alex, we'll start with you. Very, very excited about the New York Knickerbockers falling to Miles Turner's 5 blocks today.
And it should have been 6 blocks, Adam. I'm not sure that last block was a foul, but nonetheless we get the win. And yeah, Miles Turner. Justin, I know you were biting your lip a little bit. You were biting your tongue a little bit. You wanted to tweet out some things, but I mean that moment must have been sweet for him. I think to have those 3 blocks in, what was it, about 1.5 or 2 minutes, he just came up absolutely huge when the offense went stale. So I think, he was fantastic on the defensive end. But I've got to give a quick shout out to TJ Warren. I mean, that man is an absolute bucket. He has been absolutely sensational. I cannot believe I know we bring it up a lot. It's talked about a lot on Twitter, but we got this man for a bag of peanuts. We got this man for free and a second round draft pick. So he has been nothing short of incredible. I put out a tweet with his statistics over the last, I think it's the last 8 games. He's averaging something around 23 points on 60% from both the field and 3. That's amazing. He's been nothing short of incredible. And then again today, Sabonis was just doing what Sabonis does, rebounding the ball and scoring it as well. So I think, you never want those games to be close against teams like the Knicks, but it was their first game with the new interim coach, and they were playing with energy. It was in their home arena. So I think, without Brogdon and Oladipo, that was a gutsy win from my opinion.
I've got to say, you are coming in hot, Alex. I haven't even had the chance to introduce Justin, and you've just given us a full game recap. You are so excited. I can feel it through the microphone.
I got nothing left to say.
Yeah. We may as well just pack up there. We've got a 2-minute podcast today. Thanks so much for listening. No, you hit the nail on the head. And Justin, I think I'll give you the floor to talk about your man. I'm not going to use a nickname that you guys have used because I refuse to say it on the podcast. I refuse to say those 2 words. TJ McConnell had 11 assists, and I know you're super excited about his performance off the bench today. So go for it.
Yeah, it was, thanks for welcoming me. It was awesome. He obviously pushes the pace. You can hear actually Nate McMillan yell, push it, anytime he's on the floor. And he's just he had a really good 2-man game with Miles Turner today. Also, like Doug McDermott, he was dropping dimes. And like you were saying, Alex, he has some good banter with the bench when he drops some good assists. He points over at him, he gets him going. And he was the one person I saw when the Knicks missed the free throw at the end and the Pacers won, and McConnell was jumping up celebrating. So it was really good to see. And just obviously the talk of the town has been Miles Turner. It was, we'll know he's in a struggle. He's not playing fantastic right now. Every player goes through a struggle in an 82-game season, but that's what we've been saying at the Paceroos. We've been saying that's why we want Miles Turner on the floor. What he does doesn't show up in the box score. What do we call him, Alex?
Box score bandits. It's going around Twitter, isn't it, Justin? We've seen it a bit.
Box score bandits, yeah. Starting to go around Twitter a bit, so that's very interesting. But yeah, 3 blocks in the final 2 minutes essentially won us the game. And, it's not about getting 20 points and 10 rebounds every game or anything like that for Miles. It's how can he, impact the floor. And essentially, if Miles Turner did not play that game, we would have
lost.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you mentioned there that every time TJ McConnell gets the ball, Nate says, push it. I just think Nate's a big salt and pepper fan, personally. And if TJ McConnell was salt, then his pepper would be Doug McDermott. 16 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. He was 3 or 4 from 3-point range. He's having a career season. I'm really impressed with his work off the bench. There were a lot of really negative comments about his contract when it was signed. I was a little skeptical. I defended it at the time, but got a little bit more skeptical as the season wore on last year. But really impressed with the way that he's been able to be reliable off the bench this season, do what he does best and hit 3-point shots. But also his defense has stepped up. His effort is clearly at a high level. He always gives, 100%. He's one of those guys you can rely on to come off the bench and give you really good quality minutes at all times. So, my shout out for this game is Doug McDermott, who just consistently delivers off the bench now. We saw really poor bench efforts in the first 3 games of the season while these guys were starting to gel and get used to each other. And Alex, I know we've talked about it before, but Dougie McBuckets is really playing well for us, and he's a key to our bench unit.
My man, yeah. McBuckets has been light years ahead of where he was last season. Like you say, he's having a career year. And yeah, you mentioned his defense. I think, that was what was keeping him off the floor last year. He was shooting over 40% from distance, but he was just a liability on the defensive end. Players were blowing by him. He really couldn't keep anyone in front of him, but he's not having those troubles this year. You can still see it a little bit from time to time against the more skilled guards and wings off the bench, but yeah, he's been fantastic. And him along with Justin Holiday, I think, right now they're the best two players off the bench. And you add Jeremy Lamb to that second unit when Victor comes back, it's going to be a scary sight for opponents. But I just wanted to bring up Edmund Sumner, especially today with Brogdon out. What are your thoughts on? I know he had that injury and it's kept him out of the rotation, but do you think he deserves minutes, or McConnell and Holiday just playing that well that you just can't find minutes for him right now?
Justin, you're passionate about this, so I'm going to throw to you because you've got some really well-observed Edmund Sumner thoughts, and you called this very early on when he first got injured.
Yeah, I did call it. We mentioned it on the on the podcast when Sumner got injured. I did mention I feel bad from a personal standpoint, just thinking about Sumner's career. He was starting at that time and playing really well. It was brought a lot of energy and hustle, as we all know. And that injury, most people maybe didn't even give a thought to it. It's like, he'll be back in a few weeks. But I did mention that just injury can ruin someone's career, and not anything of his own doing, just situational times. And, he was starting, and now, he's out of the rotation, and Aaron Holiday plays well. TJ McConnell plays well. Justin Holiday plays well. McDermott plays well in his absence. Now, you can see the last two games, McMillan hasn't inserted Sumner in the team because there's just been no minutes for him. And, I do really like Sumner, but I don't want Aaron Holiday's minutes cut. I don't want TJ McConnell's minutes cut. So it just puts Nate in an extremely difficult position, and it might be that Sumner doesn't really get a look until another player's injured, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's been really unfortunate to see, obviously, him come back and not get any minutes in the last couple of games. But, if there's anything we've learned about this Pacers team, that freaky injuries unfortunately do happen. And we saw it with Malcolm Brogdon's hand. That gave another opportunity to Aaron Holiday to start against the Knicks. He ended up with 12 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. That was, a solid performance, if not spectacular. And ultimately, with TJ McConnell, with Justin Holiday, with Aaron Holiday, with Doug McDermott, we've got a really strong now and reliable bench unit. And if there's one thing that was sort of a theme of our conversations with Jeremiah Johnson, with Scott Agnes, Nate, even with Pat Boylan, who did a fantastic job on play-by-play, can I say, as an aside, in that Knicks game. And
he sold it as well as Australia.
Yeah, glad to see it. Glad to see. Obviously, Chris Denari is back in good nick as well. He's not too sick, and we wish him the best and hope he gets well soon. But glad Pat got an opportunity. But anyway, I digress. We've now seen a bench unit that Nate now trusts, and one of the big themes of those interviews was that when Nate gains that trust, then he really rides it through. And you really have to get his trust and gain his trust to be able to, stick out a piece in the rotation. And those guys are now at a point, I think, where Nate knows what he's going to get from them. For a while, for Aaron Holiday, it was potentially his minutes were going to be cut through a lack of production. But with Sumner going down, with Holiday getting more minutes, Aaron Holiday that is, we've seen that Nate trusts the bench unit, and it's going to have to take either an injury or one of those guys like Aaron, like TJ McConnell, like Justin Holiday struggling to bring Sumner back in the rotation. Do you agree with that, Alex?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. Justin, you mentioned, I absolutely feel terrible for him. This is a guy that in the first couple games, or at least in the last two, were getting starts, and his career was looking upwards. And it's almost a different story for Aaron Holiday, isn't it? I mean, that's just how it goes in the NBA sometimes. Aaron was sitting at the end of the bench getting DNPs, and, now he's getting 28 minutes and starting. So, it's incredibly unfortunate for Edmund. I think that maybe I think it's going to be very difficult for him to get in the second unit, like you said, unless there's an injury. I really can't see it happening, especially when you add Jeremy Lamb, coming back down, that's going to be another guy's minutes getting cut. So, yeah, I feel absolutely terrible for him. I think he's going to get a lot of DNPs this season, which absolutely sucks.
Well, I ran a Twitter poll on the Paceroos Twitter account. We were 25% through the season, and it was about 50-50 on fans saying they're happy with how the Pacers have gone, and the other side was optimistic. So, I don't know how Pacer fans aren't extremely happy with the way this season's going. We're tied with Toronto for wins. Toronto have been, everyone's bragging about how well they're doing. So I was just going to run past some players past you, Adam and Alex, and just get your opinion, yes or no, if they've passed your expectations so far of what you'd expect. Would you say has TJ Warren exceeded your expectations?
Easily.
Yes.
Easily.
So has Jeremy Lamb?
100%.
Yes.
Yep. Has TJ McConnell?
Yes.
Yeah. Has Justin Holiday?
Yes.
I think you know the answer to that one.
Yes. And has Malcolm Brogdon?
Yes.
For sure.
Exactly. And you could even throw Sabonis in there and a few others. So yeah. I'm sitting here as a Pacer fan going, God, there's been so much talk on Twitter about, this team and fire Nate and trade Miles. And we're sitting here like we're tying wins. We're just a win behind Philadelphia, who are, picked to maybe go to the NBA Finals. Our best players still out, like we've always mentioned, and the new guys have all exceeded our expectations. What more can we actually ask
McDermott
as fans?
Well. And McDermott's been a guy that's proved. I think the whole roster has exceeded expectations, to be honest with you.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Yeah, we had a few tough losses against, Philly and Detroit. We could have won, but man, it's a long season where, our go-to player's not playing. You're not going to win the clutch games all the time. And you just think about all the new players Kevin Pritchard's brought in. Every single one has exceeded expectations. So I think you got to take a step back and go, wow, we're on something special. And the team's never looked brighter for the future. It's not just about this year and, everything like that. For the future, I couldn't be more excited.
And, it's important that we talk about both sides where, we're obviously a really positive, we project a really positive outlook, and we definitely do that on purpose. But, probably the two players that haven't exceeded our expectations or even necessarily met our expectations are our starting center and our first round draft pick. So we know that Miles has obviously struggled offensively. He's not averaging as many points as everyone would like, especially certain elements of Twitter who are ridiculous. But, I want to probably have a little conversation about Goga because we've seen that Goga was given opportunity early in the season, probably a lot earlier than people were expecting due to the injuries that we suffered in the front court, Domas and Miles both being out at the same time. We saw that he sort of took advantage of those opportunities where possible. He was making some foul mistakes, which is unfortunate. But overall, he had a game with 32 minutes, a game with 25 minutes. He had a double-double early in the season. He was leading, all rookies in blocks at one point. So, he showed some flashes there, but then went through a string of DNPs at the start of November and then started to get a few minutes here and there and sort of seems to have lost a little bit of what he was putting out earlier in the season, which I think obviously does happen with rookies, and it means that that those rookies are getting accustomed to the NBA, I guess, rhythm. But are you guys at all concerned with the lack of production or the lack of opportunity that Goga's got? And Justin, I'll start with you.
No, not essentially. For me, he's a big man rookie, come from overseas. He's still extremely young, and he's been drafted to a playoff team. I don't have any expectations for him until year 2 or year 3. And I think if you'd ask someone in the Pacers organization, someone high up like Pritchard, they'd probably feel the same way. It'd be great to see him dominate. I'm not sure if he's still leading the rookies in blocks, so that's an amazing stat for him if he keeps a hold of that. But ideally it'd be good to get him some spot minutes. But then you got Sabonis or Turner off the floor, which Nate McMillan gets paid to win games. He doesn't right now get paid to develop players. So I'm not too concerned.
Alex, are you concerned?
Well, no, I think I'm in the same boat as Justin in that sense, but I just want to bring up an interesting article because Caitlin Cooper, who is one of the best writers for, who covers the Pacers, we all know her, but she wrote an interesting article about the staggering of the minutes between Turner and Sabonis, and it's something that we've noticed the last, especially in this road trip. He wasn't doing it as much early in the season, but now with Goga almost out of the rotation, it's almost due to the fact that Sabonis is running, 15 or 20 of his 35 minutes with the second unit now. Same with Miles. Miles will stay on at the end of the first quarter. That's normally where Goga will come in. Now it's Miles staying on. Then Sabonis will check in. So I think that, like you said, Justin, I think, Nate, it's still early in the season, so Nate's still trying to figure things out, I think. But I think, the more that these two have success in the second unit, especially with Sabonis, I think it's going to be harder for Goga to come in. He got 9 minutes today, he got 6 the other day, and then against the Thunder, he might have had like 4 or 5. So I think, he's in the same boat as Sumner almost, isn't he, where there's not enough minutes to go around for the amount of talent the Pacers have, and that's unfortunate. But I think he's still 25 games into his rookie season. I'm not at all worried, to be honest with you.
Good. I think overall the staggering of minutes is really interesting. We've often seen teams with 2 all-stars or 2 superstar caliber players look to stagger minutes and look to always have one on the floor at the same time. I know it was a bugbear of a few different writers and podcasters when that doesn't occur. And I think Nate's done a really good job of making sure that Domas is on the floor at the start of the fourth, for example, with that bench unit. I saw that today against the Knicks. But, I think it also speaks to a little bit of, Domas had great success last year with the bench. He was coming off the bench. He was playing with bench guys. He's used to guys like Doug McDermott
I was about to say.
playing alongside those, whereas Miles Turner is essentially playing with almost exclusively all new players, which is interesting, and it's definitely a new situation for him. And I don't necessarily think it's yielded the results that he'd hoped, but I think that chemistry will take a little while to build. But once it does, it'll be all for the betterment of the team. But I think if you're Nate at the moment with Goga's sort of inconsistency being so young, you have to stagger them. You have no choice because, you might get 9 or 10 minutes from Goga each night, but those 9 or 10 minutes are going to be maybe 4 or 5 minutes a half, maybe, in the second or third quarters. You're not going to put him out there in crunch time. You're not going to put him out there in a difficult situation. And I mean, tonight he played 9 minutes, only had 2 rebounds, only took 1 shot, which was a 3-pointer. So at least he's trying to sort of get something going there. But I'd probably like to see a little more out of him with such few minutes. It's easier said than done, obviously, being that he's a rookie. But I'd like to see a few more flashes of the Goga from the start of the season from him, even if it's just an occasional block or great play, just to show that those flashes of brilliance that we thought we were going to see more in a more consistent fashion. But maybe joke's on us because he's a 19-year-old guy from Europe who's joined the NBA.
Yeah, I think it'll come in time. And another quick thing I just wanted to mention was obviously with a big win against New York today, we had a flutter of people just saying, "Oh, lol, it's the Knicks. The Knicks stink. We should have beaten them by 20." But I just want to mention, like you did, Alex, at the start of the show. When a coach gets fired in any sport, that team usually comes back and wins because they got a lot of energy. And I just wanted to go through the NBA schedule, so maybe some Pacer fans aren't all over like the wider NBA, and when there are upsets. The Knicks have beaten Dallas twice. Dallas are second in the Western Conference behind the Lakers. Denver's lost to Atlanta at home. Wizards beat the 76ers. Memphis has beaten Utah. Pelicans have beaten the Clippers. There's no real easy win. Yeah, there are teams you probably are more confident going in, but every team's got talent, and any win, definitely a road win, back-to-back win with some injuries is a good win. So I just wanted to highlight the Knicks win was a very good win, and I don't really care what people say about the Knicks sucking.
Agreed. Yeah, I think I did tweet out as soon as the coaching change was made that I was a little bit concerned we were, playing them on the second night of a back-to-back in the Garden with a new coach, and that was a very justified concern because we only won by a point on a missed free throw. So it could have been a lot worse. But at the end of the day, all that matters is whether you got the win or not, and we did. So we can now.
Do you know how crazy it is? The Pacers didn't score for the final 5 minutes and 14 seconds. It was like. It was like 104.98 with 5 minutes and 14 seconds. We actually did not score again. If you would have told me that at the 5-minute mark, I go, "Oh, great, Pacers lost."
But that was a rough last quarter in parts too, wasn't it? That was
it was a lot of turnovers. Yeah, very sloppy, but yeah, it comes down to, they always say, defense wins games, and Miles Turner was the leader of that. So to not score in the final 5 minutes of a game and it be relatively close, you wouldn't say the odds would be stacked with the Pacers to win that one.
Well, I was just literally going to say, whether you win by 1 or 100, doesn't matter. They go as a win in the win column. So at the end of the season, you're not going to look back and go, oh, we should have won that by more than one.
Yeah.
We got the win at the end of the day. That's all that matters.
Yeah, Justin, you talked about how the Pacers weren't, favourites, necessarily favourites, and they probably won't be favourites in either of the next 2 games. We've got 2 games at home. We've got one against the Clippers and one against the Celtics. Looking at the NBA standings, you've got Boston at 16-5, second in the East. You've got the Clippers at 16-7. They're 4th in the West. 2 teams with star power that we know very well in the case of the Clippers and Paul George, and Boston obviously with a slightly retooled lineup, including Kemba Walker, but a huge test for this team coming off what I would term to be a successful road trip, 5-game road trip at 3-2. But how do you see, Alex, the Clippers and Boston games going? Are you setting expectations at 1-1? Are you thinking we can sweep the 2 games and get 2, huge statement victories? Where are you at?
I would absolutely love to be optimistic and say that, but I'm not going to lie to you for 1 second, Adam. If we can go to Atlanta 1-1, I would take that in a heartbeat. These are, 2 of the premier teams in the league right now, and I think the Clippers got absolutely pantsed in Milwaukee the other day. They're not going to lose another game on this trip. So I think they're going to come out that one. I don't know if Kawhi will be playing a load management, but whether or not they still got PG, they're an extremely tough team. Lou Will, Montrez, they're incredibly deep, and that's going to be a real test for this team. If I kind of wish Oladipo was playing in these 2 just because it would be a better test. But
Kinda. I absolutely.
Well, obviously,
I wish we were fully fit, mate.
Well, I wish he was playing from game 1, but you know what I mean. I think this would be such a good game. This would be a national TV game. I think both of them would be if Oladipo was playing. But yeah, this is definitely the biggest test I think we've had this season outside of the Houston Milwaukee back-to-back. So yeah, I think if we can
Houston Milwaukee back-to-back, we were 0-2. So if we can improve and we can get a big win against one of the 2 top teams in the East or Western Conference, if we can pinch 1 game against one of these 2 teams, then I think it's been a success given that Oladipo is still out.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I'm just going to get in early on this one, and I'm going to preach patience to Pacer Nation. If we end up being 0-2, don't have a foot off the bridge or anything like that. It's not season over. Like Alex mentioned, they're 2 premier teams in the NBA. We're still finding our feet. So I think if we do go 1-1, it'd be terrific. But yeah, just if the worst case scenario, we do lose both, don't write the season off. It's a long season. We've still got our best player to come back, and everyone's still improving. Like I did mention, all the new players have exceeded all our expectations so far. So let's just preach patience a bit if they end up 0-2.
And look, Pacers Twitter overall is pretty patient, pretty reasonable, and I enjoy being a part of Pacers Twitter. However, we are talking, and Justin, don't let me put words in your mouth, but I think you're talking to the 5% of Pacers Twitter that can be a little outlandish, a little over the top, and a little dramatic whenever anything goes wrong. And immediately it's fire this, trade that, etc. Every team has that segment of fans, and they're passionate. We can respect the passion, but unfortunately, the passion is kind of a little bit over the top in some situations, I would say.
Yeah, and the fans are great. Obviously, monitor, like you do, Adam, the Paceroos account. And yeah, 99.9% of the interactions we get are amazing. Everyone's agreeing with us and, writing their opinions. Even if we don't agree, it's fantastic. Everyone's positive about the team. But there's that 1% of people that I'm not too sure what they expect of the Pacers. Like, we're not going to be the Chicago Bulls, like 72, 73 wins, or the Golden State a few years ago. We've got a brand new team without our best players. So I'm not too sure what the expectations are, look, it's good because it makes for good conversation. Yes, I have to bite my tongue every now and then, but yeah, look, we're all in it for the same cause. We all want Pacers to succeed. We all want these players to do well. But yeah, I just think there's no room for beating down on players when they have a tough game, and then when they come out and have a great game, just staying silent.
Silence, radio silence.
Yeah, just to own it. I said Aaron Holiday wasn't a great performer at the start of the year. I owned it on the episode. I owned it on the Twitter account. He's come out and played terrific lately. So it's all good. That's what I want to see. I want to see him succeed. I want to see every Pacer player succeed. I don't bash anyone just to hate on him. It's, I love the team, so I want every player to do well.
As we all do. Yeah, I think looking at these two games, I think we'll shift and just talk about these two games specifically. We'll start with the Clippers game. Is there a key matchup? Is there a key player? Is there a key storyline that you think is going to define this game? I mean, well, I'm going to predict it right now. I predicted it while I was sitting next to you guys earlier today. We are going to get an article on some website, some blog sphere that says Kawhi and PG are coming back to the team that drafted them. Imagine if they played together on the Pacers. It's coming. There's a writer out there that's rubbing their hands together right now. I'm so excited to write this piece. Yeah. You mark my words. If you see it, then please tweet it at the Paceroos account. With a reply and just say that we obviously called that this was going to happen, but that article is going to be written and it's going to be atrocious because we drafted Kawhi for the Spurs. So that's my big storyline coming out of that game. Are there big storylines or big performances you want to see? Who has to step up? Who's going to be the key to victory against LA?
TJ Warren's matchup against PG is a big one for me. Who do you think will guard PG? I just want to ask that one because if Kawhi is playing, then do you put Jeremy Lamb on Kawhi and then Warren or PG, or do you, because you can't really switch Sabonis on either of them. So how do you see that matchup playing out? Just curious.
I put Lamb on PG and then Warren on Kawhi. I think Kawhi's a bit stronger and plays a bit more inside, which suits Warren a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think the tough one is the Turner-Sabonis matchup. Obviously, Turner will get Zubac or Harrell. Sabonis then would probably end up getting a Harkless or a Patrick Patterson or one of those guys. And then obviously you've got the Brogdon on Beverly or Brogdon on Lou Williams matchup. That's how I see it happening. But I think there's the ability to get a switch where, Kawhi or PG is being guarded by Sabonis. And that's the switch that could hurt us a little bit with perimeter shooting.
I would even flirt with putting in Justin Holiday very early in this one.
You would say Justin Holiday. Justin Holiday at power forward.
He is holding his opponents to about 30% from the field, so he's one of the elite perimeter defenders on the team, not just on the team, in the league. So, if Warren or Lamb are getting cooked early, I would really think about subbing him in on one of those. So I really would.
Well, it's going to be an amazing atmosphere. It's going to be good with, obviously, Paul George in the field house and all the fans. I'm sure the two fan zones will have their chants ready to go at him. So it should be a great game. Probably my favourite game of the regular season last year, or all of the season, was that OKC Wes Matthews game winner.
That was so good.
Just Paul George crumbling in the last 2 minutes. I'm sure every Pacer fan's got a smile on their face right now thinking about that game. That was awesome. So if something like that could happen again, that'd be terrific. But I'm really excited. 2 home games and against the 2 elites. So it should be a good test. But yeah, like I did say, it's just 2 games early on in December. So it won't mean too much come playoff time, I think.
And one extra topic to discuss as we wind down the show, but the 3 of us went to an NBL game, the local Australian league, who you will know that currently we've got LaMelo Ball and RJ Hampton playing in that league. We saw a game between Southeast Melbourne and Perth. The notable players for each side, Southeast Melbourne has Mitch Creek, who played for the T-Wolves and the Nets for a little while, played for the Boomers in the World Cup, and Perth has a guy by the name of Nick Kay, who played for the Boomers and played quite well throughout the World Cup. Thoughts or observations on the NBL as a league, especially how it compares to the NBA these days? Justin, I'll start with you.
It was obviously good to hang out with you guys. First of all, it's always good to watch a basketball game with all Pacer fans. So that was fantastic. I think Mitch Creek played really well. I think he scored 31 points. To me, he should be in the NBA. We've mentioned it before on the podcast. Ty Wesley was great for the Southeast Phoenix. But yeah, the NBA is the world's best. You can see a little, a difference there. The NBL is improving. I will say that. The players they're getting, we're becoming more worldwide, which is great for kind of Australian basketball. But yeah, to me, and when you go from watching NBA to NBL, there is a bit of a dip there.
Alex, how do you see the NBA versus the NBL, and how do you see the NBL's improvement over the long term to get up towards professional league status?
Yeah, well, before I answer that, I just want to say quickly, while we were watching the game, I did mention we should have hit up KJ Pritchard, the scout for the Indiana Pacers, and told him to be watching this one for Mitch Creek. We've advocated to get him on the team before, but yeah, like Justin said, he had 31 points. He was incredible today. But I think the biggest thing for me with the NBL is just it's a platform for guys to get to the NBA. I think the NBL has to know that it's never going to be that. It's never going to be the number one league, but if it wants to be the number two league, players have to have the knowledge that they're going to go to the NBL, and then that's going to be their platform to the NBA. So I think having guys like LaMelo Ball, RJ Hampton, even guys that are in the NBA now, Terrence Ferguson, Ennis, I believe, as well, for the 76ers, played in, he might have played for Adelaide, I think, maybe, or something. Yeah, so, you've got these guys that are coming to the NBL, using it as a springboard, and then coming to the NBA. So I think it speaks pretty highly of the talent in the NBL, and the fact that, LaMelo Ball is projected to go number one. I think that alone, speaks how high they see the league in Australia.
Yeah, I think that the thing that struck me, because I've been to a few NBL games over the years. I went quite a few years ago, about 6 or 7 years ago, and then more recently I had a gap of about 6 years, and it struck me then that the scoring, the skill level, the intensity, the entertainment factor wasn't really there 6 years ago, and now it is. We're talking about a 40-minute game where today I think the final score was something like 107-96, so which is more like an NBA final score in 48 minutes. So you've got end-to-end scoring, which is matches up quite well with what the NBA has become and the style of basketball that the NBA likes to play, the pace that the NBA likes to play at. And I think you've seen then that the improvement in pace and the improvement in shot making and the improvement in scoring in the NBL has made it a far more palatable product to be able to watch, not only in Australia but overseas. And I know that it's on ESPN, I think, not only in Australia but overseas in the States for particularly for the Melo and RJ games. But I would hope that fans all over the world would look at this league now and say that is a serious league. It's got some serious shot makers. It's got some serious entertainment and offense. And we always had to get to a point where NBL was more offensively focused. And I think we're there, which can only do good things for the league. Now I'm just hoping that my home state of Tasmania gets a team sooner rather than later, because I am currently rudderless. I'm without an NBL team, and I'm just waiting for that Tasmanian team to kick off so I can adopt the team. But yeah, great to hang out with you guys in person, as it always is, but also cool to take in a basketball game and hear your thoughts on particularly Mitch Creek, a guy that all three of us strongly believe deserves a spot on an NBA roster, and hopefully sooner rather than later he'll be able to get that after maybe a couple of successful seasons with the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. Final predictions, Justin, LA and Boston, the Clippers and Boston, 2-0, 1-1, 0-2. What's your prediction?
I'm going to optimistically go 1-1. I'm not too sure which one we've got higher chance of winning. Probably the Boston game. I think Boston are overachieving right now. I know they've got a really good starting five, but I feel like with Sabonis and Turner, we can kind of utilize it. They're not that big. Obviously, they got great wings with Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and Kemba Walker's playing out of his mind right now. But I think we've probably got a touch higher chance of beating the Celtics than we do the Clippers. I'll definitely take 1-1.
Yeah,
Alex, what's your prediction?
You know what? I'm going to do it, Adam. I'm calling 2-0 right now.
Are you doing what I did last episode? I like it.
The alarm bells.
You can all tweet me after we go 0-2, but I'm going 2-0, boys. I think, like you said, the Celtics, I think that's a game we can definitely win. Brogdon matches up, I think, reasonably well with Kemba, if not perfectly with him. Sabonis is going to have a field day with Theis and what is it, like Robert Williams maybe, I think. So I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say we're getting 2-0.
I went out on the limb last time, so I'm just going to stay conservative this time. I think we have a statement victory against the Clippers. I think they continue to slide after their loss against the Bucks, and I think we're not able to get over the Celtics, and that we can resurrect and get a win back on the Celtics when Oladipo's back later in the season. I think we play Boston again. We don't play Boston again for quite a while, I think, as well. I think it's very late in the season, like the 11th of March, that we play them next. So I'd say that we're going to lose this time, but come late in the season, we're going to have everyone back and we're going to be very formidable, and we're going to get our win back at that point. Guys, thank you so much for being with us once again on the Paceroos Podcast. We'll see you next time after the two big games against the Clippers and the Celtics, and we'll see you then.